Welcome to Global Tax Talks. I'm Will Morris, and I'm here in Beijing, where I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Charles Li, who is our China country tax leader. Charles, welcome.
Thanks. Welcome to China.
Good. Well, it's great to be here. So let's start off. Talk about the general scenario for a moment. The headquarters of multinational corporations seem to be increasingly concerned these days with perceived increasing investment risks in China. So what's your observation on the business of MNC's Chinese operations, and what's your view on some of the reasons for this concern?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Yes, I also heard similar questions from MNC. But when we look back, MNC China operation has experienced significant development in the last decades. The importance to the MNC has been growing because they continue increasing the contribution from the revenue profits perspective for the group as a whole. That's when the China element becomes more important. MNC are facing a change in the complex market dynamic in China, and there are many challenges, and that's put pressure on the performance of the China operation. The increased competitiveness of the domestic market, also the oversupply in certain sectors, make the competition in China market much difficult now. And some MNC choose to relocate certain capacity outside China or reconsider adjusting their investment layout. The global economy recovery remains slow and lack of growth momentum. China is also experiencing economic slowdown. While the profit contribution from the Chinese operation is decreasing, it is not easy for the MNC to locate alternative markets with comparable market scale and conditions. There are also other factors, such as geopolitical impact, which could overweigh market and business consideration in MNC investment decisions. Many MNC are revisiting their supply chain arrangement. However, this could be in both directions. Some may move the manufacturing out of China. On the other hand, others may bring their supply chain into China to tackle the China local markets. In addition, during the 3-year pandemic, there is a communication gap between MNC headquarters and the local management in China. Right? Especially, right, the local operation have already highly localized it. And I believe MNC should build some flexibility in the business model in order to adapt to the ongoing complex and challenge in the markets.
Great, thanks very much, Charles. So that's really helpful. So having talked about the general economic situation, let's move down to something which of course is near and dear to our hearts, which is tax. And how is the tax environment for MNCs in China? It's said, for example, that MNCs have been facing more tax investigations in recent years. What's your view on this?
Yes, I think the volume for tax investigation is increasing this year. But however, MNC in China are actually sharing similar experience with business around the world. As in our global tax controversy survey, also indicate that tax inquiries are on the rising globally. And it shows a common pattern from tax inquiry to further investigation and audit. In addition, business worldwide are experiencing longer time to resolve tax dispute. There are various factors driving such trend, such as the growing technology sophistication of tax authorities, increase in tax regulations, and the revenue pressure on tax authorities because of the economic slowdown. Such trend will be similar in China, and it takes various forms from the tax investigation, formal tax audit, self-inspections, and inquiries in different provinces, cities, and even at district level. Furthermore, the volume of tax investigation was reduced significantly during the pandemic period. Some cases may be carried forward from previous years. However, the tax investigation is not just industry or MNC targeted. It covers all taxpayers, including state-owned enterprise, private-owned enterprise, and it also covers different industry. The inquiries of all business increase the compliance level accordingly.
Okay, that's really helpful to know. Thank you very much, Charles. And one final question. So we live in a time of, as we've been discussing already, massive change, lots of different things changing, economics, finance, all of those types of things. But still, we have to carry on. So let's talk about tax certainty for a second. So what is your observation on tax certainty for MNCs?
I think from the China Tax Authority, they are aware that there's always a gap between commercial transaction and tax regulations. So they are learning how to adapt to this environment. The trend is they are more open to understand the business transaction and try to provide better services to the taxpayers. This will include, right, they are more open to provide some tax certainty for taxpayer, including MNCs, right? Something like APA, BARPA, advanced ruling started to available in China for the operations.
Okay, that's again really helpful. Look, Charles, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to chat with you. I'll very much hope to be able to do this again, maybe in Beijing, maybe somewhere else.
Yes, well, okay. We look forward to have more conversations.
Absolutely, good. So again, thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us, and come back next time so that you stay global tax ready.